What's up? So I got my new camera finally. I got everything set up, so I'm ready to start recording again. I have an interesting video today, and it's based off of this TikTok.
So I'm walking home, right? And I see all of these bags of chicken meatballs. Cater to you kitchen. You pay for catering and you get chicken meatballs from a box.
So essentially, this lady was walking down the street and she sees all these trash bags filled with these chicken meatballs and was like, look, when you're paying for a catering, this is what they're giving you, frozen fucking meatballs. People in the comments section were actually kind of split. I was actually shocked at how split they were on this. As a chef, I feel two different ways about this. First off, there is the you get what you pay for mentality. So if you are going to go through a cheap caterer, you haven't vetted them, you haven't looked at the menu, you haven't done a tasting, you haven't actually experienced anything from them, and their prices are not very expensive, there's a chance they're probably getting their stuff from either Cisco, Restaurant Depot, or something like that. That's where a lot of this stuff comes. A lot of people don't realize this. A lot of, we'll say, normies, because line cooks and chefs are just fucking weird, okay? A lot of normies don't know exactly how much food is frozen and prepackaged and comes in from US Foods and Cisco. That's one side of it, okay? Now there's another side, and it's how I personally feel. This is the mentality of a chef that is checked out. Now, on the one hand, if all of those trash bags were for a single catering, we're talking thousands of meatballs, quite literally thousands of meatballs. And those types of events more than likely will have something like that. You know, it's not any different than if you order hot dogs, right? You get a shit ton of hot dogs. Catering events can be the same way. If you have to provide meatballs for 10,000 people, you quite literally don't have the manpower to do that. So you're faced with one of two options. Take the money and use frozen meatballs, or reject the business. Let me put it this way. You have a catering, 2,500 people. Now, each one of those meatballs is 3 ounces, and you do about 3 meatballs per person. So that's 9 ounces of total meat. And maybe you do a sauce with it. So 2,500 people, what is that times 3? Exactly, it's about 750. Well, not about, it is. It's 750. 7,500 people. Sorry, I'm thinking in different numbers. 7,500 meatballs would be what you would have to create for that event. Now, there's a couple of things that people don't know about catering. First off, when you do a catering, there's 2 different methods for how you charge customers, or when they're looking at the menu. They can either pay, usually it's pay by the dozen, so they order X dozen meatballs. The other way is they can pay for a quantity. So we are having an event. There are 2,500 people for that event. We're going to pay this much money per head. The catering chef has to make food to feed 2,500 people. Now, in the case of the we want X dozen, that's super easy. We want 8 dozen of something, 96. Boom, done. It's in the warmer. If they didn't order enough, that's on them. But if they order for the person and we run out, that's on me. So it's my job to make sure there's enough food for all 2,500 people. So what I do is I will make, literally, I will take the portion size. So I said 9 ounces of usually for meat, it's about 6 ounces. So I'll take the portion size of 6 ounces, and then I'll times it by the amount of people. And then I'll also take some other considerations, like, is there also going to be a chicken dish? Is there going to be side dishes? Is there going to be other options there for them to pick? Because the fact of the matter is 2,500 people aren't all going to pick steak, especially if you can choose between steak and like some kind of baked chicken or something like that. More than likely, you'll probably usually sell more steak than chicken, but it also depends on who you're feeding. For example, when I've catered for mostly women, or, you know, sororities, or whatever gathering is happening, A lot of times they will eat a shit ton of salad and a shit ton of chicken, and they'll kind of leave the steak alone. If you're cooking for football players, on the other hand, they eat the same amount as about 2.5 people, each person. So if you're doing hamburgers for football and there's 100 football players, you're probably going to be making around 250, like 200 to 250 hamburgers. If you're doing hamburgers for a group of women, 100 women, probably 75 hamburgers. A lot of them aren't going to eat. Most of them aren't going to eat fries, whatever. And you have to weigh this because on the one hand, you don't want to run out of food, but you also don't want to waste money because they're paying for X amount of people. I'm just going to start saying 100 instead of 2,500. They're paying for 100 people. You're providing them with 100 people's worth of food. So, typically that's like 2 entrees, 1 side, some kids' meals. Now, I'll tell you some things that to consider also. There's a lot of people that they'll go to these events, they'll bring their kids, they won't say anything. So you'll get kids menu items, right? Like mac and cheese, chicken tenders, hot dogs, like, shit that kids love. They eat the crap out of that. They don't want anything else. They don't care. Cheese pizza, mac and cheese, chicken tenders, whatever. They also don't want fancy mac and cheese. You want to provide that quality, right? You want quality mac and cheese that the kids are going to love. But they're used to craft. You make the good like 8 cheese macaroni and cheese that's baked and it's got that panko. They don't want that shit. They just don't. So sometimes that's the kind of stuff that'll end up coming in frozen, is like the frozen mac and cheese or whatever. But a rule of thumb is for kids, especially, if you have one order, times that by like 3. And the reason why isn't because that kid's a pig, right? It's not because they're just going to stuff their face with mac and cheese. Maybe they will. I don't know. But the main issue with this is people bring their kids and don't fucking tell you. You'll have 7 kids, and then Bob and Susan are bringing their kid, and they're talking to so and so. Oh, kids are allowed at the event. I'll bring little Johnny or whatever, and you end up with like almost twice as many kids. So what I will typically do is, if I see kids menu items on there, we want this much prime rib for 100 people, and also we want enough mac and cheese for 7 kids. We plan on there's probably going to be 14 kids, or they're going to want seconds or something like that. And that shit, kids' food is cheap as fuck. Okay, so it does not take much to just make a little bit of extra mac and cheese. Some frozen mac and cheese, some frozen chicken tenders. They're happy. They're on their way. The kids are playing, screaming, ruining the night for the adults. And then they can go about their business, Not really. Kids are awesome. Yeah, you don't want to do, if you have 100 people, you don't want to do a 50-50 split steak and chicken. You take your audience, or you take your customers into account, what they're going to be wanting. There's also things that you have to consider, like hold times, how long they're going to hold the food for, the event set time versus the start time. In higher ed, for example, what I'm currently at now, they use cater tracks. It doesn't matter if you're what company you're with, Sodexo, Aramark, Eurist, a lot of them will still use cater tracks. When you look at those, it'll give you a set time. Those set times are usually put in by the catering director. One of the things that gets overlooked is the event set time. So the event set time might be 3 p.m. That's the time that they need to have everything on site ready to go. Okay, plated event, whatever. So when they pick the food up is going to determine that set time. So if the set time's 3 p.m., you need to have everything in there before that 3 p.m. mark, but also far enough before that 3 p.m. mark to where they can come grab it, take it to wherever they're going to go, then set it up by 3 o'clock. So if the set time's 3 p.m., 2:30. We'll say. So you end up in the situation where you have to have steaks. The steaks they need to be done by 2:30 because they're going to pick them up. The event set time's at 3. So they pick the steaks up at 2:30. They get to the event, they set up, the set time is at 3. The event starts 45 minutes later, 30 minutes later, whatever. So 3:30. So we're already an hour past when the food was made. Now, when the event starts, there's people that they trickle in, they come in. It never fucking starts on time. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that right now. The event never starts on time. So if you are sweating balls because you're worried about the food being late, I'm going to tell you, out of the 4 years that I spent catering, there's only been one event that started on time, and it was a personal catering for the chancellor, and it was a Christmas party. That's it. I'm telling you, like, dozens of events never started on time, at least 20 minutes late. So people are showing up. So now we're an hour and a half in, right? Everybody shows up. Now they have their presentation, and their presentation goes another 20, 30 minutes. We're at 90 fucking minutes from when that food got done. Do you think if you made nice, crispy, amazing asparagus, that asparagus is going to look good 90 minutes later when they start? It's going to look like fucking shit. So what you need to do as a catering chef is think, okay, this needs to sit in the warmer for 90 minutes, potentially. I'm in at 11 a.m. The food has to be out by 2:30. It's for 100 people. We have steak, asparagus, and whatever, fingerling potatoes. Okay, the potatoes are going to hold, right? The steak is going to carry over temp, but it's not going to stay that way. It depends on if you have temperature-controlled hot boxes or if you just have the ones that just latch and just hold everything. So if they just latch, they need to be sealed really well. You know that there's going to be anywhere, depending on how thick your steak is, anywhere from a 10 to 20 to 25 degrees sometimes, carryover temp, whether the event is plated, right? So there's all this stuff to think about. With the asparagus, you don't need to cook it very long. You cook it, you get it, still got a little bit of a snap, a little bit of a crunch, you're done. You're done. That's it. In the hot box. It's going to spend 90 minutes in the fucking hot box. If you cook it to where you expect people, like you grill, like let's say you do like a charred asparagus or grilled asparagus, after it sits in there, it's going to look like black and green fucking mush, right? Hopefully, the director or if you have somebody that's above you or something like that, they know all this already. So they're going to pick hearty vegetables, say fall root vegetables or something like that you can cook, and they can just kind of sit there. And they can have their root vegetable side, they can have their steak that's being held, and then they can have their fingerling potatoes. That's a good meal. That's really good. And it can sit in the hot box. And it looks good too, even if you're plating it. Risotto, same way. Now, risotto is a little wonky. It's a little iffy. I will say one of the other tricks that we found with catering, they didn't trust me to make hollandaise sauce. Whatever. I had already been there for 2 years, and they brought a chef in to help because it was for a state Supreme Court, right? They didn't trust me. The first thing this chef suggests is getting frozen bagged hollandaise sauce and holding it in a hot bath until it's time to put on He wanted to get the same shit from Cisco that Perkins was using for their Eggs Benedict to serve the state Supreme Court. I said, fuck that. And I went around him. Well, not really around him, because he was supposed to be helping me, right? Talked to the chef, and I was like, okay, what's the problem with hollandaise sauce and holding it for a long period of time? It doesn't hold well. That's one of the biggest problems with hollandaise sauce. It doesn't hold well. You do smaller batches more often, but if you have a state, I just prefaced all of this with this 90-minute, all the blah, 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 blah. So what we came up with as a solution was hot hold the hollandaise in decanters, or these things. Carafes, I think they're called. So we took a bunch of the hot coffee and hot tea carafes, and we filled like 4 of those fuckers with hollandaise sauce. It worked like a fucking dream. So anyways, that's all I wanted to say about catering. I hope you learned something. If you want to know more about catering or some other version, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.